Hello. So I want to talk today about forgiveness as our superpower. So I was watching We Don't Always Agree with Ryan and Sterling, and I was watching their Why Get Married episode. And they spoke about, specifically, Ryan spoke about a point of making a decision in making decisions together from a point of sobriety. And it really resonated with me because I had just been making a video for Maitri Wisdom about feeling like I am most clear headed, trying to understand my emotions because I'm realizing that I'm emotionally intuitive. And that's how I gain a lot of my intelligence about what decisions I should make. And I had begun by thinking that maybe I should make decisions during the height of my emotions because I'm so clear on what I feel during that moment. But then as I was speaking to you guys, I was realizing no, I just need to be able to always be in tune with my emotions, or as much as I possibly can. Um, and so that point about being able to make decisions together from a point of sobriety, she was talking about in marriage, but I think even alone, is a really powerful point. And I was in the kitchen cooking, and I was thinking about the situation that I'm going through right now where I'm trying to decide whether I want somebody in my life. And the song Heart of a Woman by Summer Walker was playing in my head. Only thing that's saving you is the heart of a woman. And I was thinking, I wonder if that's why I'm struggling. Because on Thursday, I was really, really angry, very frustrated, very annoyed, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So much so that I wrote out a little letter to basically cut somebody out of my life. And as my emotions have subsided and I've spoken to other people, other women mostly, entirely actually, I did tell my dad, I have stretched out the possibilities of what I can do, what can happen, what I should do. And I've considered a lot more, and I've worried about whether I'm being kind, how kind I need to be, whether kindness is possible, whether protecting somebody's emotions are possible at all in a situation where you just don't want to be friends anymore. Either way, it's going to hurt. But trying to figure out the least painful way to do that, I have began to journey down that road where I was not at that point when I was just in the height of my emotions and I just wanted to be done. And so that song coming to my head made me think, yeah, the thing that's saving this relationship and the thing that saves a lot of my relationships is my heart. And it is the fact that I believe in second chances. I believe in people's, a whole person. And so knowing that I don't know the whole person, and so wanting to understand the whole human being rather than just taking them at the first glance they give me. But then another thought came to my mind. And when I was thinking, only thing that's saving you is the heart of a woman, I was also thinking that it is extremely kind to cut somebody off early in my life, because when I am angry and when I am at the end of the road and I have stopped caring and I now only want to get you out of my life, I can be very cold, and it can be hard. It can be harsh, and it can be nasty work. And as I was talking to myself, preparing to talk to you guys about this, I was thinking, letting somebody go during the first red flag, letting somebody go when the first sign appears, or you first become aware that this maybe is something you don't want, is protecting them from Kali. You only want to bring out the goddesses that do that destructive work when it's when it's time for war, when you have no other choice. But all of the peacemaking, all of the conversations you can have before that, all of the attempts that you can make before bringing out that level of that side to the goddess, that side to womanhood, that side to our emotions, that side to our heart. You should do all that work before you before you just go full Kali, because she's not meant to just always be conjured. And I am not meant to only have endings that are extremely destructive, extremely emotional, and bloody and harsh. It is much better if I can end things right when I realize that they are not going well. And that is also the heart of a woman, being able to forgive through letting go. I have thought about forgiveness. I think I have a nuanced understanding of forgiveness, but most of the time when I think about forgiveness, I think about opportunities and second chances and considering the whole person and considering that there's information I don't know and wondering if maybe, if you give another chance and you explain your boundaries, now how will they react? Giving a person a chance to react and change rather than just letting them go at the sight of what you first experienced from them. Giving them a chance to show you another side to them, which I think is what that song was about. I don't know what Summer Walker really meant, but from her music, I imagine she's talking about, I'm giving you this final chance, put your words on your life this time. I'm giving you this final chance to show me what I know is there, what I've seen before, and for you to stick with that rather than reverting back to this other place that is like demonic in your behavior. And that's what I usually view forgiveness as, giving another chance, or, when the situation is done, viewing forgiveness as, accepting what happened, letting go, forgiving yourself, blah, blah, blah. But I'm also now beginning to look at another lens of forgiveness and forgiving the person coming into my life that I no longer want in my life by letting them go easy, letting them get out easy. Because there's a part to it that is like, it's so interesting because I think that the divine feminine is such an interesting spirit. And when I think about femininity and all of the ways that we really don't understand it, and thinking about the dark feminine, which is interesting because Bahati Life, Jessica, Bahati Life was talking about the dark feminine, I don't know, maybe a week or two ago. And I had been talking about her similarly, kind of around the same time. But I'm thinking about her now, and I'm thinking about Kali, and I'm thinking about all of the dark goddesses that I guess reflect the dark feminine. And there's a part. This is where I think the why people fear the dark feminine, because there's a part to it that is empowered when you keep somebody around that shouldn't be around and you don't want around. Because for me, I have gotten to a point where, to a certain extent, I know my power. I know myself. I know that I know what I have the capacity to do to defend myself and to get rid of something in my life when I absolutely need to. I know what I'm capable of on that level. I don't know all of myself, but I know at least what I can do. I know what destruction I can cause. And I do wonder if not on a conscious level, but maybe on a subconscious level, if there's a part of my dark feminine that, holds on to people who I don't actually want around, because I don't know why in my head I was like, she's bloodthirsty, because I don't think it's that. But I think there is an aspect that's like, okay, well, you've come in, and I don't know. What I'm doing right now is I'm thinking through in person. I'm thinking through live. So don't take anything that I'm saying right now as something that I actually believe. I'm just thinking out loud. So, like this bloodthirsty idea with the dark feminine, I don't know if, the person who comes into my life that isn't meant to be in my life and shows me through maybe perhaps wronging me, because in this situation, I feel that someone is taking advantage and being a little bit manipulative, but I don't think that they're a bad person. I'm not even quite sure they're doing it completely intentionally. You know, I think it's just one of those human things. You know, you just chalk it up to being human, being cultural differences, life differences, experiences, whatever. I don't think this person's a bad person. But having somebody come into my life and do something that I find disrespectful or put me in a position that I really don't appreciate, I don't want, that I didn't need to be put in, and feeling that they are capable of more, but seeing that they are not showing me that compassion, not showing me that grace, not being kind to me or treating me the way that I feel, you know, you should treat somebody that you would like to be your friend. I wonder if there's a part of the dark feminine that's like, okay, well, you know, I know that the other parts of myself don't want you around and want to get rid of you, but I wonder if there's a little aspect to her, maybe a shadow aspect, that's like, but I'm going to hold on to you because there's a punishment to be had here. There's a lesson to be taught here, and I'm going to teach it. When it's finally my time, when I'm conjured up at the surface, I'm going to be here to deliver, you know, the cutoff, and it's going to be rugged. I wonder if there's a bit of that desire. I don't know if I actually feel that way. I don't really think I do because I really don't like conflict too much, though I get into conflict a lot in my head with people, and I have quite incredible comebacks, but again, that's in my head. In person, I don't experience a whole lot of conflict because I tend to avoid or fix it before we get there. So I rarely face big conflict with people outside of my sisters, outside of family. You know, I argue big with my sisters, but other than that, I don't. You know, so no one else really sees me in conflict other than family. But I wondered about that. That was a thought that came to mind, you know, because why continue to be in this flip-flop space? And yeah, the heart of a woman, there is the compassionate heart that wants to give another chance. There is the desiring heart that wants to see something through. That there's the heart that wants you to be the manifestation, that wants this thing to be the manifestation, and maybe there's just some kinks to work out, but really this is the thing. You know, I've been looking for really, really good friendships. I have one really good friend, and beyond that, I have good friends, but you know, looking for more really solid, strong friendships. You know, sometimes you just hope for someone to be that. And so sometimes I wonder, well, am I just hoping that they're the one and this just needs to have a few kinks worked out? And then there is maybe that bloodthirsty part that's looking to be able to show my teeth a little bit. But do I even really want to show my teeth? No, I don't think so. I don't think I want to show my teeth. I don't think I want to experience that because I don't like hurting people. I really don't like hurting people. It's horrible. It's uncomfortable and it's horrible. It's not a good feeling to know that you've hurt someone, even if they've hurt you. I don't find that it balances out. It just feels horrible. Yeah, especially because I can't help but see the humanity in people. You know, it's just like you just see the whole person. So it's like, even if they're doing something that's bad and annoying and horrible and wrong, it's still like, ugh, well, I still see the other half to them, you know? And so when you get to the point where you're hurting people, it's like, well, geez, you know, because you don't get to just pinpoint where the hurt goes. It just goes all over. So I don't think I actually want to hurt someone. So I don't think that's what the divine feminine, what the dark feminine is about. There's something else. But I do think there's a reason I heard bloodthirsty. But you know what I think it is? I think it's more of a healer spirit, but I think it's the same way that I think vampires can sometimes be misinterpreted. Because I wonder if vampires, not in the physical sense, but more so in the spiritual sense, and not like an energy vampire, the way they talk about energy vampires. I don't know anything about that. when I was thinking about vampires, I was thinking about the idea of sucking somebody's blood. And I was wondering, it would be interesting if vampires could actually sense toxins in people. And it would be interesting if they had like some type of gift of being able to cleanse. And so pulling that out. And so, a vampire bite and the idea of sucking somebody's blood is it's a painful image if you're the one that this is happening to. So I can totally understand how people view vampires as like this scary uh, being. But from the other end, I can also imagine that vampires are a dark healer, and come into your life to take out some type of toxin, whatever way that manifests. Uh, and through the energy of attack, I don't know, because I feel like more than I hear about vampire attacks, I hear about vampire like relationships, love, connections, and then somehow you get zapped, somehow you get caught, you know I rarely hear about it really seriously from the aspect of an attack. Usually vampires are able to emotionally connect with people, and so I wonder if they actually have a healing spirit to them that's not acknowledged, and they've been warped in some type of way. I don't know why I'm thinking about that, but I'm thinking about that. Actually, I do know why, because I was thinking about bloodthirsty, and I was thinking about the dark feminine, and I'm like, well, maybe she's bloodthirsty in the sense that she can sense that there's something to heal. There's something that she can get out, and keeps you around to do that work, keeps you around to explore that more. Because as a healer, you know, as much as you want to do the work of healing, if you're a healer, you're also probably a little bit of a scientist, a researcher. You're curious. You want to understand illnesses. You want to understand sicknesses. And I think that's why, sometimes people get the trope, get reprimanded for, you want to fix everybody. Fixers, they get talked down to, because it's like you see people as projects. But I don't think it's that simple. I think it's just an aspect to being a healer. If you are a healer, you want to study your craft, and sometimes that means keeping sick people, being around sick people, so that you can understand the nuances and the dynamics of how an illness might manifest. And if you are someone who, engages with people who are emotionally disturbed, perturbed in one way or another, or need some type of help, or do something that isn't in their best interest, and perhaps they're doing it in a way that is hurting you, but if you feel that you are strong enough to handle that, and you're so curious to understand more about it, so that perhaps you can solve it and heal it, but you are not in the position to heal it immediately, it's something you would need to do research around, then maybe that's why, you end up keeping people around a little bit, so that you can try and solve their problem, but also gain knowledge, gain wisdom in the healing arts through understanding how certain things manifest. It's a form of intelligence, getting to interact with people who are hurting or in pain in some way, because you get to understand what all the different ways of pain can look like, and how it can manifest in people's actions and people's behavior. But it's self-destructive, it's extremely self-destructive. And this is where you have to start to wonder about like the ethical code of being a spiritual healer. What does that look like? Where do the boundaries look like? When do you have to be able to be self-aware enough to realize, oh, I'm keeping this person around because I'm curious about them, not because I actually want a relationship. I'm studying them. Right now I am studying this person, and they don't know that, which, is that cool? Probably not, probably not. Nobody wants to be somebody's project. Some people do, but then you sign up, you go to therapy, because the therapist is learning when they're working with you. They're learning about the human mind. all that schooling is just, I don't know, to give them like a foundation. But I feel like you learn the most about therapy when you're actually doing therapy as a therapist. Just like everything else, it's once you get out into the field. And so, you sign up to be a project when you go to therapy, but in your individual relationships with people, if you sign up for a friendship, you're signing up for a friendship, not to be studied, unless you guys are studying and growing together in your intelligence. But I wonder for me if there's a bit of a curiosity, because I do love research and I do love to understand people. I like seeing human behavior. I don't like to see people hurting. But it's not always about liking it that keeps me around. It really is curiosity and understanding, a desire to understand. And sometimes I think with the dark feminine, where the boundary might perhaps need to be drawn, or even I don't even know if it's the dark feminine that we're talking about anymore. Perhaps it's just the feminine, where boundaries need to be drawn with that feminine spirit. And I guess I'm really speaking about the feminine so much because all of this really began through the heart of the woman, and it was Ryan in the We Don't Always Agree podcast, the Why Get Married episode, that she was the one that triggered me to think, because she spoke about making decisions from this point of sobriety. So it was women references, so that's why I'm speaking so heavily from the feminine. But perhaps it's, this boundary with the researcher feminine spirit, the healer, the aspect of the healer within the feminine that is a researcher, that is a scientist, that is a doctor, that is curious and wants to understand, the student, because not everybody is a book to be read just for knowledge, and in that way, I think that's why I was thinking about the vampire, because in that way you are just you're taking, you're just taking. And maybe that person was just taking from you, and so you find ways to justify it, but you're not really giving. What are you giving? Whatever you're giving, you clearly don't value, or else you wouldn't want to give it to this person because you don't actually want them in your life. So you're taking, and what are you taking? And is that fair? I think what I'm doing right now is trying to understand my own actions and why I'm sticking around, why I'm struggling to not be decisive, and I think there's a loneliness aspect to it. I'm in a new place. This is one of the first people that I met, and it would, I might be lonely once this is absolutely a goner in terms of being able to have this type of connection. And so it might be that. And I think it might be this feeling that I don't know everything. And so I don't know exactly who this person is. And so there might be something that I'm missing. And it would be horrible to make a mistake and assume that somebody can't change when they could. And maybe we could end up having a great relationship. So there's that. And then I do wonder if there's also this spirit within me that is curious and wants to understand why somebody is behaving the way they are, for not just for knowledge's sake, but for field research, so that I can go and develop answers, and that part of me is a part of me that I engage with, but I kind of just witness. Like I don't know. It's like when I'm in that spirit of myself, I'm that person. And then when I'm not, I don't really engage with that spirit of myself. So I don't question them a lot. They're not getting questioned a lot, the student within me. But they have quite an impact in my life, especially when it comes to being in situations that I shouldn't be in. Because I do think that part of it is curiosity. Not all of it, and maybe not even majority of it. But there's something there, or else I don't think I'd be talking about it. I don't think I've fully figured this out. So that's why I'm so hesitant, and that's why I'm trying to consistently remind you and me that this is not a complete thought. So I don't know whether I actually agree with anything I'm saying. I'm just thinking out loud. But I do think there's something there. I think there's something there. It would be nice to figure it out because I think it would be clarifying, when the thinker takes over. But it's like, I think maybe perhaps what needs to happen is better boundaries, between the heart and the mind. I don't know, because only thing that's saving you. Yeah, but like, what was I thinking about? So earlier, I was thinking about the fact that what is my center? And I was talking about coming back to love. Love is clarifying for me. And the reason I think I was saying that was because watching this episode of the We Don't Always Agree podcast, I'm watching a couple. I'm watching Ryan and Sterling, and they're a wonderful couple, and they have so much wisdom. And so I'm watching Love. And today I've been listening to love music all day. And I had a whole thing with my my soulmate in my head, a whole, love thing. And I was listening to Beyonce and Jay-Z, the Carters, and all of their collaborative music and all of their love music. And so love is a huge clarifying point for me. It is. And I wonder, though, because I wonder if my heart could have a profession, I feel like it would be some type of researcher in the field of love or some type of work in love. So there's definitely a curiosity there. There's definitely a desire to seek out knowledge and understanding there. And it's not just romantic love. I think it's all forms of love. Familial love, friendship love, it's love. Powerful, that powerful feeling. And why am I saying this? Because I think my heart is a bit of a researcher. I think my heart loves understanding. I think my heart feels very fulfilled when I understand something, when I know something, and especially when I can give an answer. I really, really love to provide an answer, to provide a solution, to provide understanding for myself and for others. I love Eureka. Like, Eureka is like the best thing ever. I love like clarity, that's the best. So I seek that out. And seeking that out means you've got to study the places that you don't understand so much, you don't know so much. So when people are hurting you, why are people hurting you? Part of you would need to stick around to understand why. I wonder if that's what my heart has thought. But I'm not quite sure that's the truth. I don't think you always need to stick around negative relationships to be able to understand them. And that's where I think like the spiritual aspect comes in, because it's like, if we all share an intelligence at the end of the day, I should be able to understand what was happening, at least in their interaction with me, just through looking at myself. I don't need to submit myself to experiencing that so that I can gain new knowledge. Just like you can learn from the wisdom of other people and not have to go through something and really understand why you shouldn't go through that thing. You can learn the lesson through somebody else. That's really real. You don't have to go through everything. And so I think there's something about that for me, with my heart specifically, and maybe with the heart in general, maybe with the feminine, some type of boundary with like this researcher spirit. And it's interesting because in the very first video I filmed today, I was talking about the predictive nature of life that is developed in our own lives through the patterns that work for us. And so we figure certain things out about life. We figure out how certain things just might go, usually go, just because it's a pattern that's healthy. So it's something that sticks around, we feed into, we understand it well. But sometimes it can be deceiving because it can make us think that we are in a situation that we're not yet in. It stops us from taking action to begin something or to do things because we think we know all because of this predictive spirit, because we have a certain level of understanding that comes from intuition that has been fed by previous experiences. So it might make us think that we are taking actions that we're not actually taking. Tarot is a great example of that. Watching too much tarot can make you think that you are doing something with your life and you're not doing anything. right? Because if you're always watching tarot readings that are saying something great is coming, you're planting a seed, you're starting a blah, 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 you can be thinking that you're doing all of this. Meanwhile, you're literally doing nothing but watching videos, you know? Tarot is really good for, that's a really great example. And tarot can be really, really deceiving, which is completely why, I think that's why it's controversial. I think that's why it's controversial. Because I myself read tarot and watch tarot, and yet I have really strict boundaries with what I'm willing to do in terms of sharing tarot online these days, because I see myself as an individual who consumes tarot, and I see how I am, and I see how susceptible the human spirit is to the messages of tarot, and it can be extremely unhealthy, and tarot can be very addictive and dangerous. I think tarot can cause stagnation in your life because it builds up this predictive experience without actually any of the actual real life experience. And so you begin to think you have wisdom and knowledge that you don't have, that you have things ready and waiting for you that you don't have. And it's spread out and made available to too many people at once. And and it stops people from doing the individual work of critical thinking to recognize whether this is actually for you. You know, you're rarely practicing discernment. It's the algorithm. It's an algorithm. It's technology. You know, it's not always spirit sending these videos to you. And so tarot requires a level of discernment and autonomy and personal responsibility that I think is asking a lot of the general human being. And so I think tarot readers have an ethical responsibility to be, you know, to think about what they want to post, what they want to share, how often they want to share. And I don't know, it's hard. It's hard. I don't judge because it's complicated. Tarot is a complicated subject to me in terms of doing tarot as a career online via social media, where you have thousands or hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of people watching, because you know, you can give all the disclaimers you want, but these are human beings, and you know, human nature is what it is. Humans are so vulnerable when it comes to the heart, and that's just how we are. And so knowing that, I think there's certain ethical conversations that us tarot people need to have about working online and sharing general messages that are so hope and dream filled and can cause a lot of emotional reactions and yearning. Yeah, so there's a lot I think about tarot. It's hard. I read tarot for a very long time. I would do tarot readings, and I read tarot personally for people, and I had to stop because I got to a point where I didn't believe it. And that's scary because you're supposed to. You know, you shouldn't be sharing anything you don't believe. So I had to stop. I was questioning the ethics of it. And I think tarot is a tricky one. I love tarot. I love it, but it's tricky. But it's magic, and magic is tricky. It's not clean cut. You know, tarot isn't purely good. It's not purely bad. It's not on that scale. It's its own thing. It's magic. It's literally magic. So, you know, you do with that what you will. You have to be able to remember that. And that's a tricky thing. That's a tricky thing for humans. So, you know, I don't know if tarot was meant for humans. I wonder if it was meant for aliens or just like another species. I feel like, oh, shit. I feel like it's a little too intense for human beings, but I love tarot. And maybe that's another part of me that loves it. That's from another lifetime when I wasn't a human. I don't know. Or maybe it is the part of me that loves it that's human, but maybe it's an addictive part of me. I have certain obsessive qualities. Anyways, so yeah, I gotta go, and that's what I'm thinking. See, this is what I'm talking about, because it's like, what does that reaction tell you? No, you know, no, you don't want to do something. So why are you going to do it anyways? Why would you go do it? You know, like you have to be able, I'm talking to myself. Unless you are also going through this, then I'm talking to you too. But we have to be willing to be honest with ourselves about the role we play in why certain things happen. You know, like I didn't start this, so I of course didn't initially um, create an environment where for someone to come in who I wouldn't want a relationship with or something like that. But like, you know, we have free will, we have choice. And why would you continue to engage with something you don't want to engage with? What's keeping you around? Why is this such a difficult decision to make? What really is it? Is it fear? Is it just not wanting the conflict? Not wanting to deal with conflict? I think it could be that. My sister dragged me this morning. She's like, I don't want you to run from conflict. And it's like, maybe it's that. Maybe it's the discomfort. It's the discomfort. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I'm already uncomfortable. I'm already in a new space. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I already worked through so much discomfort. I don't want to deal with another level of discomfort now from having to set another bound. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to. So instead, I'm going to stick it out, because then it's not like, then you're no longer the victim. Now you're the villain, you know? Now you are the problem because you're doing something and you're not being honest. You're not being honest about how you feel, and it's mean. It's mean. You become the mean girl. You become the mean person, and that's a nasty feeling too. Nasty, nasty, nasty. So now I have to figure out what I'm about to do because I've said it. So now it's like, well, fuck. But it's like, I hate this. I hate this. It's both the fear of making a mistake and being wrong, misjudging. It's also the fear of loneliness. And, you know, wondering if anything better will come, and maybe I'm acting too quickly. Maybe I should just be grateful, which is just such a horrible way to talk about another human being. So there's also some self-reflection to do. Like, you know, this is a person. So you don't just get to keep them around because you're scared of nothing else. Like, I have to think about, you know, the way I'm behaving, because what's really going on. If I don't want this, let them go. And maybe that's the aspect also, you know, like, what is this? This possessiveness? Like, you can't go until I find something better? Ew, not cool. Not cool at all. So that's something that has to be addressed, but where does that come from? And maybe it's survival instincts. Maybe it's the survival instincts within me kicking in, because it's like, well, I've got to hold on to this. It's like, you know, holding on to the little bit of food you have, something kind of like that, but it's not, because I'm not starving. Oh, but I could. It's the lack mentality. It's a scarcity mindset. Ugh, I hate to go there, but it's a scarcity mindset. That's probably what it is. It's a scarcity mindset. And scarcity can make you really mean. Scarcity, you have to be rugged. You have to be mean. If we're living in real scarcity, you have to be kind of, you know, you have to be rough. You have to protect what's yours and what could be yours, because you don't know when the next thing's coming. This is scarcity. But I'm not living in scarcity. So I don't need to be like that. And I need to remember that, because acting like that when I'm not in that situation means acting like being without awareness, even though I am aware. And so then it's just being irresponsible, you know, just being irresponsible with other people's emotions, with my own. And that's not cool. That's not cool. That's how you become a jerk. That's how you become a bad person. And if you can't be accountable and call yourself out for that, that's how you create a horrible habit of, hurting people for no good reason. So I need to be real with myself about that and figure out what to do. I know what I need to do. I just need to figure out how to find the guts to do it. How to find the guts to do it, because there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear of hurting someone. There's a lot of fear of the discomfort. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I want to be comfortable. So there's that. But it's like, which discomfort do you want? For one of them, the long-term effects are horrible. The other one, it's short-term, and maybe it is long-term in a certain aspect, but like it's short-term and it sucks. But at least then everything's laid out on the table and there's not a bunch of things building beneath the surface. I am right now, what you're witnessing is me. I am in the very beginning of either deciding to let something grow with something beneath the surface or let something just be cleared. I can clear something or I can let something begin to fester. And I get to make a decision. And it's very hard. It's very hard. All of these moments of empowerment and you being the decision maker are so hard. They're so hard because there's a bunch of things going on that make it feel very justified to begin to let that iceberg grow. But it's not worth it. And I know that because I've been here before. This might sound like a crazy struggle to you, but for me, my life, friendship and relationships and boundaries are a huge thing for me. It's a huge thing I've been working to overcome. And I've been through a lot of growth and a lot of work these past few years. So this coming up now during this specific new beginning in my life is significant, and I know that. And I know I need to make the right decision, and I didn't expect it to be so hard. And this is why I was thinking that I'm the type of person that should make make decisions in the heat of the moment, because this wouldn't have been a hard decision to make on Thursday. It's a hard decision to make now because I'm back on the ground. I'm back on planet Earth, and I'm seeing the whole human being again, not just my arch nemesis. I was in my heat, I was in my anger, I was in my protector mode on Thursday. Now I'm at peace, and so I can see the full person, and all of that humanity is making me feel really stressed out about making the right decision, and all of the real world aspects of life are just making me, now there's just suddenly again so much more to consider. And so part of me wishes I could go back. I wish they could just do something else to traumatize me so that I can get back to that point where I know. But it's like then I'm asking for another bad thing to happen or to be put in another uncomfortable position. And then now, right now, I'm even questioning whether these are bad things that have happened or just, they're not bad things that have happened. They're just annoying things. It's just compatibility. It's just compatibility. And I have to accept that that's enough. It's enough that it's compatibility, because right now it's just compatibility. And that has always been how it starts for me. It is always just compatibility in the beginning. We're just not compatible. And because I have told myself that that's not a good enough reason to let go of a relationship, you need something more, I wait and I stick around to find more. And I always do. Because not being compatible means something is wrong. And it doesn't mean something's wrong with the person. It means something's wrong between you. Something won't work. And what I've found that won't work is there is always something is gonna hurt you. You don't have the same communication style. You don't have the same idea of whatever. And someone's gonna get hurt. That's why you're not compatible. You don't understand each other well enough. And compatibility is always a sign of something else. but I can never, I've in the past, I have not been able to take it at just compatibility. I've always been like, nope, I need there to be another reason, a bigger reason, more information. And more information just simply means more pain, because what I'm asking for is evidence. And I'm not willing to accept the evidence of compatibility. I don't think that that's enough. And what I'm really telling myself in that moment is that I deserve to be uncomfortable. Um, you know, I deserve to be uncomfortable. I deserve to be in friendships I don't want to be in. That's something I deserve. And I deserve to experience that. What I don't deserve is like to be beat up or to be violated and blah, blah, blah. So until I experience violation, I'm not leaving. Like, that's what it's giving. That's what it's giving. Because it's like, why can't you leave at the non-compatibility? Why are you waiting for some type of trauma to occur? You know? And then there is the aspect of me that feels that I might be wrong. But wrong about what? Because you feel what you feel. You don't feel compatible. Even if you can find the bright spots, it clearly doesn't outweigh the negative, you know? But you're like, oh, but because the bright spots exist, the bright spots exist, so that means they need to be taken seriously, taken more seriously than the negative. Why? Seeing the light in everything is not always a gift, you know? Seeing the light in everything is not always a gift. And this is why I had to make that video, and I really need to, maybe I need to rewatch it and listen to myself, because I was talking about the power in others. And I was talking about how this might be one of the flip sides to having strong faith. Because I have strong faith, I also feel that I have an enduring spirit, a spirit that feels that it can endure a lot, and therefore will. And in my past, I have struggled with putting myself through a lot, because I think that subconsciously, I think that I felt that I could survive whatever might happen. I also didn't think, I wasn't really thinking about the worst case scenario. I'm never thinking about the details. I'm thinking big picture. If this thing ends, I'll probably be able to survive it subconsciously. On the surface, I'm just thinking it's not that bad, or I don't have enough evidence. So this is, I think, I'm understanding my what I was dealing with subconsciously. But with faith, I think it's also a little bit of the ego of feeling, that I am strong and that I am capable and nothing can take me down. I have faith forever. And in reality, it's like, no, other people have power, and other people's power is immense. And I don't think I am more powerful than anybody else. I just think I am powerful in my own right. And I can defend myself and I can protect myself. But other people are still powerful, and they can still affect me. And if they affect me, then I have to defend, because I have been hurt, I have been attacked in one way or another. That's what it is. When you can defend yourself, you have to defend yourself because you've been attacked. So other people still have the power to affect me. And I need to remember that, and remember that when I see the first red flag, take that and go. It's like seeing a bear at a long distance in the woods. Are you going to stick around to make sure it's a bear? No. You go. Recognize the danger and go. Recognize that something isn't working and go. Don't stick around to make sure you're right. Why are we questioning our survival skills? Why are we questioning our perception, our ability to recognize danger? Why am I questioning my ability to recognize danger? Why do I think I can't recognize danger? Why do I think I'm wrong? Why do I think I can't trust myself? Did something happen where I was wrong? And so now I'm in this, now I always question and doubt myself. I'm trying to think back to my childhood. I'm like, was there a time when I thought I was in danger and I wasn't, and so I said something and I made a decision that maybe hurt someone or blah, 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 and so I made a mistake, and Did I make some type of mistake in the past that's now made me not trust my perception? Or is this some past life thing that I have no idea about? And that's even more annoying if it is, because it's like, well, how the fuck am I going to figure that out? I don't know. But I think maybe it's that. Maybe it's feeling like I can't trust my danger signals. But it's like, really? Because I do know what I feel. I know what I see. I know what I sense. It's not that I am questioning. Well, I do question whether I know it. I know what I see. I think I question whether it's a real threat or not. And I think threat is the nuanced word, and real. I think real threat is the nuanced term. Because it's like I'm questioning whether it's a real threat. Because it's like, what does a real threat mean to me? What am I considering a threat? Is something only a threat if it kills me? Is something only a threat if it cuts me? Is something only a threat if it tears me apart? And beyond that, it's not a threat? What is danger to me? What is dangerous? What is harm to me? What is violence to me? What is pain to me? Why do I only recognize an extreme as pain, as danger, as harm, as violence? Why nothing else? Why are the warning signs not good enough evidence? Why isn't the warning signs considered evidence? Why is that something else? Why is it a different category? And why is that category something that shouldn't be listened to? Why do I operate in the extremes? And I understand then why I thought that maybe I should be making decisions from extremes, because it's like, well, that's the only point when I seem to really be able to know something. But that's not true. I do know right now what I should do. I'm just struggling to do it more. It's harder to do than when I'm at the extremes. And I wonder, I'm thinking back to this bear reference. If I see a bear from long in the distance versus up close, like part of me is thinking, if I saw a bear from long in the distance and I had to run, there is a fear of the running, because now I've turned my back on the bear. So has the bear now seen me and is chasing me, and I don't know? If I turn around, am I about to be surprised by something? And where am I running? Now it's suddenly I have to make a plan. Where am I going? Suddenly the plans have been disrupted. I'm on a different path. I have to address this. All the fear of maybe that action maybe makes me feel like it is more worth it to just deal with the bear head on. But what I think I need to understand is that I need to not think that everything is going to be a problem either way. There's one problem and then there's a road of clarity. Not there's a problem and there's a problem. You know what I mean? And I'm picking the better or the worse problem. There's not necessarily a problem here where I take action, where I listen to myself. There's not a guaranteed problem here. There's only a guaranteed problem with the bear, with the warning sign. Where I can listen to this warning sign and go ahead in a different direction, there's no guaranteed problem here. I'm saying, I'm imagining a problem. I'm dreaming up a problem. Why do I feel like no matter what I do, there will be a problem? Why do I feel like no matter what, I will have to fight? No matter what, I'm in danger. Why am I always in danger? Why am I always in danger? What am I so scared of? Why am I always being attacked in my mind to this point where it's like, well, I might as well stick with the danger I know. What am I so afraid of? What is this mystery danger that might happen if I take control and I do something preventative rather than doing something because I have to, because I stuck around? What's wrong with the preventative measure? What's so dangerous about the preventative measure? What happened? Why do I feel that way about preventative measures? What am I scared of? What happened? And I right now, when I'm thinking about it, I really can't think of anything. Can't think of anything that's happened. I wonder if maybe this is just a fear I've always had. And you know what? My mind just went back to love. And in my head, I was like, what's my worst fear? Not finding my soulmate. And that's what I was thinking. I was wondering. I don't know if that's my worst fear. I don't really know what my worst fear is, to be completely honest with you. I don't know what my worst fear is. Maybe that's my fear. What have we been talking about this whole time? Understanding. Maybe it's that I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't like not knowing. I have a lot of Sagittarius nature. It could be that. It could be the unknown. Perhaps I'm just afraid of the unknown. Oh, what a classic case. Maybe I'm just afraid of the unknown. And so I just stick with what I know. Wow. So human of me, so typical. But this is the thing. It's like, so if that's so human, which it is, because who's not afraid of the unknown? Everybody seems to be, even though it's so funny because I also am quite a risk taker. And it's also like, you don't fucking know how this thing is going to go. You just think you do. That's the danger of the predictive element. That's the danger of the predictive nature of life. Once you've cycled through something enough times, you really do think you understand it. And it's like, but life is random. So you don't. You think you can just continue to be in these relationships and yeah, they're toxic and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they're not healthy. Yeah, you're not compatible, but you always come out on the other end, so whatever. But turns out this time it's the serial killer. You know what I mean? And I'm not to be Graham, but it's just like, you just don't know. You don't know. So instead of continuing to engage with something because you think you understand it, you need to take the preventative measure and listen to the red flags. Oh, you have to. You have to. And I think I'm seeing clearly. I think I'm seeing clearly. And I really want to understand, what is this fear of the unknown? I do think the fear of the unknown is natural. So this really could just be nature. And this could just be a man versus nature moment for me, where I'm fighting my own nature. Because I was saying that in that video. I don't know what the video is called. I think it's called Faith. I don't know what it's called. I posted it this week, I'm pretty sure. Let me look. This video that I keep referencing. Oh, no. Yeah, this video. It's called The Power in Others is the Power in Us. Oh, well, there's that video, and there's also Faith the size of a mustard seed. Both those videos, I'm kind of talking about this. And then it's funny because this video this week, I also talked about friendships, and I talked about my first relationship, which all feed into this. But maybe it's that. And the reason why I brought up love is, if it's not my soulmate, who is it? If it's not this person I've been dreaming of in my head, who is the person I'm going to end up with? Because do I want them? I want the person I've been dreaming of in my head. What is this fear of the unknown that holds me back? Why is it so powerful? Why am I so scared of the unknown? And maybe that is the connection to the dark feminine that I've been looking to pursue. Because I think I talked about this in the very beginning of my spiritual journey, and I bring it up a lot because it kind of has defined my spiritual journey. I started my spiritual journey being really interested in darkness and in nothingness as the creator spirit, as the first existence ever. And with this idea around darkness and needing to not vilify darkness, and this idea that energy never dies, getting rid of that idea is like a pillar of the universe and the pillar of knowledge, and blah, 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 and considering something else. And I think it has something to do with the unknown, because the unknown has such a powerful grip on the human spirit. And why? Because it's like the unknown is the future. You don't know the future. So the unknown is just like, everything is the unknown. What is this? Why is this such a big fear? I don't feel like it's natural because it's something that so many of us feel at this point that it's natural, but is it natural? Or is it something that has been fostered? You know what I mean? Is it natural or is it nurture? But ancient nurturing. Long years of nurturing, that has developed this fear of the unknown in the human spirit. Because it's like, what? Why? It's just like fearing death, and it's like, well, but why? Because it's actually the one thing we will all go through. And I completely understand fearing death from the aspect of how you will die. But death itself, it's like, well, I understand because it's the fear of the unknown. But why are we so afraid of the unknown? Because we don't know what's going to happen. Why are we afraid of not knowing what's going to happen? Because we want to be in control, or because we think something bad will happen? Why do we think something bad will happen more? Because we wouldn't fear the unknown if we had a bias towards thinking something good will happen. Why do we have a bias towards thinking something bad will happen? Because that must be why we fear the unknown. If you wouldn't fear the unknown if you had a bias towards good things happening. And I'm actually a pretty positive person. So I think this is why I'm questioning this so much, because it's not natural. I wouldn't say it's natural. There's something off about this. Like, at least for me, there's something off about this. Because why do I have a bias towards thinking something bad is going to happen? I'm digging back to my childhood. There's nothing I could use as an example that I remember. And I don't think I have some secret hidden experience that I'll realize when I'm 30 years old. I don't think it's that. I think it's something else. I think that we as human beings and spirits, our human spirits, I think we have been trained, lulled into having a bias towards something bad happening. And perhaps it's because of all the trauma that the human race has gone through, with all of the wars and genocides and colonization and all these horrible things that have happened throughout history. But I think there's something there. There's something towards questioning why we have a bias towards bad, and where did that start, and who benefits from that being maintained. Because if you have a bias towards bad things happening, towards thinking bad things happen, then you avoid the unknown, then you avoid new beginnings, then you avoid trying things, you avoid fresh starts, then you avoid changing your reality. Who benefits from human beings being afraid to change their reality? Who in power benefits from human beings being afraid to change their reality? And it's so deep, because it's like, why is this affecting me on this level with this friendship, with this person? What would benefit from that level of stagnation where it takes shape in so many different ways in people's lives? It's not like it's just consistent with one thing, because humans have gone through class revolutions and liberations and blah, 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 blah. So we've changed our reality many times, but this still festers, and it's such a common fear that almost everybody seems to have it in one way or another, in one aspect of their life. So I don't think it's just even about human beings on this planet and the power dynamics between us. This feels like a deeper spiritual war that needs to be questioned, because it's not even a war, I think, because I don't think we're getting the chance to even fight anything outside of ourselves. So what is this really? Where does this come from? What is this all about? Why so fearful? Why so fearful? And I wonder, because I'm thinking about like another pillar, I think, of knowledge that has been like established for humans is this idea that you need to know where you come from. That like you are who your past is important. Where you come from is important. And I completely understand why that's a pillar of knowledge for humans, because it is important. It affects so much. It is very, very valuable to know where you come from, to know your history. You know, you need to know your history. If you don't know the history, the past will repeat itself. All of those, there's so many different versions of that chunk of knowledge that I feel like is a pillar in the universe for us as human beings and our spiritual wisdom that we've gathered, the same way energy never dies is, the same way, like, you know, do to others as you do to yourself. The idea of karma. Karma is like a spiritual pillar that human beings seem to agree on. Energy never dying is a spiritual pillar that human beings seem to agree on. This idea of reincarnation in one sense or the other. And your past being important is a pillar that human beings seem to agree on. It seems like. I don't know all the religions in the world. I don't know all the faiths in the world. It seems like. I'm thinking now about the great mother, the great goddess, God, the universe, whatever. I wonder if not knowing where God comes from, not knowing where the universe comes from, and if you do ultimately consider yourself an extension of that, even if you're not religious or spiritual, but you consider yourself a human being on the planet, so you're not knowing where this whole thing that you're in comes from, and if the idea that, you know, it's important to know your past, it's important to know your history, it's important to know where you come from, it's important to know your family, blah, 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 blah. If all of that is key to like our human narrative and what we've decided for ourselves, what we've decided will be our nature in terms of knowledge, then not knowing like the mother of God, not knowing the mother of the great goddess, where nothingness comes from, not knowing where the universe comes from, I wonder if there is an inherent distrust there. Not inherent, but if there a distrust has developed because of this idea that it's important to know your past. It's important to know where things come from. And I think it even shows in this video, because look at me, I'm digging into my childhood every time I'm questioning, you know, new layers of trying to understand this behavior. I'm thinking, well, okay, well, what has happened that's made me feel this way? Maybe nothing happened. Maybe there was nothing before that created this. Maybe this just exists. You know what I mean? Maybe this is just a thing. And it literally comes from nothing. It comes from nowhere. It's just a thing that I have. It's just a thing that I'm dealing with. And if I deal with it, it can be resolved and it will dissolve because it comes from nothing. It's nothing. That's a powerful idea to me. That's a very, very powerful idea, and that's actually very empowering. It's also a little terrifying, but it's more empowering because if it's nothing, if it comes from nothing, if it's not rooted to anything, there's nothing to go dig up the root so that once I address this, I need to then go back to my past. And if it literally comes from nothing, it's the snap of a finger and it's solved. You know what I mean? There's no heart to it. It's just material. You know what I mean? There's no weight to it. There's no essence there. It's an aesthetic. There's no essence. That's interesting. That's powerful, I think. That's powerful. It's nothing. That to me also confronts the idea of energy never dies. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I think you decide. And I think I'm going to stick with this. I think I'm sticking with this idea. I like this. And I think I like it because I think it's true. I think it's nothing. I can't find something in my past because there's nothing in my past to reveal why this is something I'm dealing with. It just is. There's no big conductor. There's no enemy. There's no war. It's just something that's appeared. The universe is random. Spirit is random. This is random. This is something that has happened, and because it occurred, I don't know however long ago, and then I engaged with it and blah, blah, it's developed into something that I have an attachment to in one way or another, but it comes from nothing. And so when I choose to cut off its head, it will really be done. There's nothing for it to revert into, or it will just dissolve and I will realize it was nothing. It was nothing. And maybe that's the scary thing about nothingness and about the idea, because when I think about nothingness, I really do think about her as the first creator, the first goddess, the first god, the first. There was nothingness and then there was something. You know, there was nothing and then there was something. So maybe that's what's so scary about nothingness. Because actually we can meet our mother. We can meet our creator by dissolving these things. We can meet our creator by destroying these things in the beginning. Something occurs and you can resolve it. And resolving it immediately gives you an immediate glimpse of nothing, of nothingness, of the creator. And maybe that's something, I wonder what that's like, because, well, I know what that's like and it feels like relief. I'm thinking, because I'm like, when have I ever dealt with something head on immediately? I have moments like that all the time. I just don't, I'm not like able to pull up a memory because it's not, you know, you do that all the time. We engage with nothingness all the time. We meet her all the time. We constantly do this, where we destroy something toxic immediately. We are always engaging with nothingness. Maybe it's scary to see how present she is. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe there's nothing. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe we have way too big expectations for what God is, for what nothing is. Maybe nothing is just relief. You know what I mean? Just relief. And I wonder if most existences and most things that end up popping up and happening are random. Now that'll be a problem, because that would make sense to me. That would make sense that most things that happen are random, and that humans, because we love meaning, and I love meaning. I am a big fan of meaning. I love meaning. I love for something to mean something. So because we love meaning, it would make a lot of sense that random things happen and we attach meaning to them and decide that there's something deeper there, when there's not. It was random. I wonder if life is random is actually a pillar, if that's actually true. Because I do believe in coincidences, because I think coincidences are romantic and I love that. And I love the idea of a divine plan. I love fate. I love all that stuff. I love it. But I also think it's very liberating to actually instead, and you can have both. You don't have to choose. You can have both. But just going with this blind thinking, it's very liberating to acknowledge that life is very random and that things just happen. Because then it's like healing isn't so hard anymore. It's not all of this loaded work, and your ancestors aren't tethered and attached and struggling. Instead, and nobody gave you this thing that now you've inherited and you're going to struggle with this for the rest of your life. Instead, it's just like, oh, something's happened here. Okay, once you deal with it, it's gone. If something else happens, well, that's just life. Things happen all the time. Maybe it was just a coincidence. And maybe like the thing about coincidences is because what's predictive about life perhaps is the randomness. And that's why perhaps we like to say there's no coincidences. Maybe, I don't know, but maybe, because it's not a coincidence that something random happened. Life is random. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I honestly don't know. I'm just thinking. But I think I've done some interesting things and I'm curious about it. I really am curious about it. I really don't want to have to deal with this situation, to be honest with you. That's the truth. I just don't. I just want it to be gone. I want it to disappear. That's what I want. I want this situation, not the person. I want the situation to I want the problem to disappear. I don't want this problem. I don't want to deal with this. That's how I feel. That's how I'm feeling right now. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to. I don't want to. Like, it's like, I don't want to. That's when life gets annoying, because it's like, I didn't call this in. I didn't ask for this. I don't want this. But if you don't want it, then get rid of it. You know, like, that's the answer. Because it's like, now it's here. So what are you going to do? That's the thing about life. It's like, it doesn't matter if you didn't want it. It's here. So now what? And that's why abortions are so important. Because it's like, no, you don't just have to deal with it. You don't just have to deal with it. You can get rid of it if you want to. I believe in abortions. I believe in women's rights to abortions. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, actually. But yeah, but why am I saying this? Right, because things happen, whether you want them to or not. That's the randomness of life. You think everything happens just because you want it to? No. Like, things happen. Because you're engaging with other people. It's not just your life. This is your life, but your life is shared with like 8 billion other people on the planet. And then the planet and the animals, and then the atmosphere and the air, and then the stars and the sun and the moon and Mars and all these other, like, you know, you're in a whole universe. So it's not just your life. So yeah, things are going to happen that feel random because you're engaging with other people. You're bucking up against other people's energy all the time. And if you're someone that's open to life, then a lot of things are going to happen because you're going to be constantly engaging with other people's energy. And you're bound to run into people that you don't want to engage with. And now you have a problem because, I've engaged with somebody because I'm open to life. And then I've realized, I don't want to engage with this person, and now I have to do something about that. Oh, but I don't want this problem. Oh, but you know what? It's just a side effect of something that's actually really positive, which is being open to life and being willing to engage with other people and start new relationships. So it's like a problem, but it's not a problem that I actually want to get rid of, because I don't want to be closed off to life. I don't want to stop being open to relationships, but this is something that happens when you're open to relationships. Sometimes you start developing something with someone, realize you don't want to, and now you have to deal with that. Now you have to stop it. You can't just keep going because you started. You have to stop. That's where I'm at. I need to learn that, you got to stop. If you don't want it, you have to stop. Even though you don't want to do that because you didn't ask for this. You just wanted to make a friend, of course. But you didn't find a friend. You found something else. And so you've got to deal with it because it's here and it's not going away. Because, like, you don't live in a fake reality. You live in a real world with other people. And I'm just going to disappear. You know what I mean? And you can't just disappear. So you've got to deal with it. That's life. That's life. And it sucks. It sucks. It's horrible. It's annoying. It's completely annoying. I completely understand why I feel this way. It's annoying. It's extremely annoying. It's incredibly annoying. But it doesn't change the reality. I have to deal with it. If I don't deal with it, I am actively choosing not to deal with it. And then when the consequences arise, I chose that. Because I chose not to deal with it. And I know there will be consequences because I've done this before. This is the gift of the predictive nature. See, there's sides to everything. This is the gift. The gift has taught me what happens when you don't deal with something, when you know something that needs to be dealt with. Why would this be different? You know, why is it only different when you don't want to deal with it? Oh no, this might be different because you don't want to deal with this problem. It wouldn't be different in any other reason. If you didn't have to deal with the problem, it wouldn't be different. You would just let the problems disappear. But because you have to deal with the problem, no, maybe this is different. You're not slick. It's a shame. It really is a damn shame. It really is a damn shame because it's just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to. That's what I'm dealing with right now. I don't want to. But it's like, girl, you're talking to yourself, right? Because nobody else cares that you don't want to. Okay. How does that affect them? It only affects you. Oh, man. This is the part of me that totally gets toddlers. Because I want to throw a tantrum right now. Because I'm just like, this is not fair. This is not fair. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. Somebody deal with this for me. Somebody solve my problems. That's how I feel. Somebody solve my problems. But no one's going to solve my problems. And tarot might make you think somebody will, but no one's going to solve your problems. You have to solve your problems. I have to solve my problems. And that's what I'm going to do. So I am going to go because I have to. I have to go. I have to go, and I'm going to throw up because I have to deal with this. And I really don't want to. And I'm going to spend time doing this, and I'm gonna throw up. I'm gonna totally throw up because I really don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to deal with this, and I'm questioning myself. I'm questioning whether I know what I know, whether what I know matters. It's not about what I know, whether I know what I know. It's about whether it really matters. Does it really matter? I have to ask myself that. Does it really matter? Is it really that big of a deal? Is it a big enough deal to cause a disturbance in my life? Is it? But it's like, yeah, it is. It is. Because you're lying. You're lying, and liars are punished. They just are. At least in my life, they are. Well, I'm punished for lying. That's what I found. I'm punished. So I have to do this. But it just sucks. It just sucks, and I hope I'm not wrong. Bye. There's no point in talking about it anymore. It is what it is. Bye.